that same post, you mentioned Tim Walz, and you called him what many Americans do find an offensive word, retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely, sure.
But you don't think that...
You have a problem with him? You know what? I think there's something wrong with him. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into his state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walz.
On Thanksgiving, your crazy-ass president, Donald Trump, did something I didn't think I would live to see, which was say something awful enough to offend some Republicans and, most importantly, receive consequences because of it. Granted, he has said racist and bigoted things a million times over, and he probably uses that R word and other R words that contain the letter R every Thanksgiving. But this particular time, his attacks against the state of Minnesota and Governor Tim Walz went too far for some Republicans, and he's getting his hands smacked because of it. It's a Christmas miracle.
A top Republican in Indiana has just announced that he will be voting to block Donald Trump's attempts to redistrict the state after Donald Trump yesterday used the r-slur in order to try to attack Governor Tim Walz.
About 3 seconds worth of credit to the state senator for finally taking a stance against Donald Trump on something before I take it away. First, Donald Trump has said about 6 million things to offend people with disabilities, let alone the rest of planet Earth. I mean, just a week ago, he referred to that reporter as Piggy on Air Force One, which confirmed to me that the White House must have absolutely no mirrors or reflective surfaces of any kind. But you've offended me specifically and my family, so now I care. I don't care what he says about the rest of you people, you plebeians, but now that he offended me specifically, now I care. The reality of the situation is the president happens to be polling right around paper straws and colon cancer, so these Republicans feel emboldened now to finally speak out against him. But a win is a win. We'll take it. So let's take a look at what State Senator Mike Bohachek had to say.
Here he wrote the following. Many of you have asked my position on redistricting. I have been an unapologetic advocate for people with intellectual disabilities since the birth of my second daughter. Those of you who don't know me or my family might not know that my daughter has Down syndrome. This is not the first time our president has used these insulting and derogatory references, and his choice of words have consequences. I'll be voting no on redistricting. Perhaps he can use the next 10 months to convince voters that his policies and behavior deserve a congressional majority.
Donald Trump has been engaging in this bullying campaign across America, trying to convince state lawmakers to essentially cheat on his behalf and redistrict their maps in the middle of the decade to save him from probable impeachment after the midterm elections. Indiana's Mike Bohachek has put his foot down on this, likely because he's no idiot and he saw how it backfired spectacularly in the state of Texas. And he recognizes that Donald Trump is probably beyond saving at this point because he's around as popular as mosquitoes are. But make no mistake, if Donald Trump was more popular, Mike Bohachek would not be finding this last-minute bout of courage, unless he happened to be holding a bottle. He would be going right along with it. But this Donald Trump bullying, which he's been doing since in utero, is all of a sudden a bridge too far for some Republicans right now.
You know, everybody knows that the president is famous for his unfiltered social media. But if you take at face value the idea that calling your opponents traitors and then specifically saying that it warrants the death penalty is reckless, inappropriate, irresponsible. There are a number of other ways to describe it, but it's not something that is helping the country heal wounds. I think it stirs things up, and really, I think we can do better.
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican from Georgia, just a staunch supporter for so long of the president, has said she is going to step away because she's paid such a public price for some of her positions. Do you think there is room in your party for disagreeing with President Trump?
I think it's important that we have independent voices. So I'm sad to see her voice go away or potentially go away.
Like our dear friend in Indiana, Rand Paul has raised his hand to be added to our list of ever-growing Johnny-come-latelys, no doubt in a last-minute attempt to be removed from Santa's naughty list. I don't know if it'll be quite enough to do that, though, for Rand Paul, because he continued to say that our healthcare system should be based around the Costco Sam's Club model, but A for effort, I guess. But Rand Paul, I will give him credit. He has had some principal positions that sort of separated him out from the regular traditional Republican establishment even before there was a MAGA. He sort of was MAGA before MAGA. And now, during this Republican Civil War, folks like him and Marjorie Taylor Greene have raised their hand and said, I'm different. I'm crazy, but not that crazy. Especially since the president has decided to kamikaze himself into the rest of the Republican Party.
Take a look here. This is Gallup. This is the longest running poll. You know, Gallup has been conducting polls since my father was a kid, and my father was born in 1927, had me in his 60s. Look at this. In January, Donald Trump's net approval rating, not too bad, not too great. It was at -1 point, right within the margin of error, breaking even. But look at this now. Negative 24 points, way, way down. We're talking about a drop of over 20 points in the wrong direction for the President of the United States. Minus 24 points, that's a 23-point move in the incorrect direction if you're the president. And of course, what's so important here, Sarah Seidner, is it matches the trend that we've seen with other polls. That is Donald Trump hitting his low for the second term. I was doing the count last night. I think we're up to 10 polls in sort of the last 40 days, 10 different pollsters who have said that Trump is at the lowest point he is in his second term.
So how does this compare to other presidents in their second term at this point in time?
Yeah, okay. So, you know, this is one of these great examples where I kind of run out of room on the slide.
You sure did.
Yeah, I run out of room on the slide. So I just put up the Republican presidents.
Historically, the only president less popular than our president now was Richard, I am not a crook, Nixon, who was very much a crook, but less so than our current president, Donald, I'm like a smart person, Trump. In fact, the only thing declining faster than his poll numbers are his mind and body. And it's causing the rats to flee the ship.
Trump, I think, is still the leader of the party, but it seems like more and more Republicans in Congress are willing to break with Trump, at least on certain issues.
Yeah, good morning, guys. It definitely seems like as the president's first year back in office winds down, the honeymoon period seems to be winding down as well with the Republican Party, at least, and potentially the American people, as you guys pointed to those polling results. But there's been sort of a litany of issues in the last few weeks, especially where we've seen more and more Republicans willing to break with the president, express frustration with how the president is approaching certain issues, or just straight up reject some of what the president is proposing. When you look at things like this idea for a tariff dividend check, we've seen a number of congressional Republicans say that they don't support that idea. They'd rather see it used to pay down the debt. We've seen breaks with the president with his handling of the conflict in Ukraine, or how the administration's building up forces near Venezuela. We've seen pushback when it comes to Trump's calls to end the filibuster, when it comes to calls for redistricting, when it comes to AI policy. So there's really been sort of a bevy of issues where Republicans have sort of dug in a bit more and seemingly kind of pushed back on where the administration is headed on some of these things.
So while our president is spiraling out of control and getting annual physicals like every 6 minutes, some Republican politicians are seeing the writing on the wall. As it turns out, they're not idiots. Now, it's the same writing on the wall you and I saw way, way, way back when he was taking selfies with apparent master of the universe, Jeffrey Epstein, and going down that golden escalator of terror. And from that day to this one right here, Donald Trump has been pretty congruently terrible. He's crashed the U.S. economy. He's gutted Medicaid to the tune of trillions. He's allowed Americans to go hungry by holding SNAP hostage. And all the while, the Republican politicians were aiding and abetting him every step of the way, until he started to be not so popular. Granted, he never was super popular, but now he's super unpopular. And so while I am very grateful for those few Republican politicians, because it's going to take them to sort of finally break the dam, let's also not get amnesia and forget where they were not 6 seconds ago.